So Brad Hand going diamond.
Yeah.
That was the only guy you could think of, right?
Um. Okay. I mean, he was the one I thought was almost a lock just because he's been so so good. Who was the other guy?
Well, I mean,
There was somebody
I was
else.
thinking DJ.
Granky.
Oh,
Gr-
Granky.
You Granky for 84s, I think great. There's a few guys who really could, but yeah, DJ LeMahieu is another one. It's possible.
Yeah, DJ for me,
Um,
just because at this point he is the best second baseman in baseball in my eyes, at least. Um, with Altuve being a diamond at 86 and DJ being literally Altuve but better at every single thing Altuve does.
Yep.
I mean, he might have less power, quote unquote. Now, I'll tell a little story real quick. I went to go see the Astros play last Sunday in Houston. I was at Minute Maid Park, and I was there with my girlfriend. And Altuve comes up to bat. Like he's walking up, and she goes, "That guy's really short." And I go, "That was my girlfriend, who does really not know much about baseball aside from who's on the Red Sox." She's like, "That guy's really short to be a baseball player." Like, yeah, he's pretty small. He's the shortest guy in the league, I think. But they love him here in Houston, and I honestly think he's kind of overrated. Well,
Yeah.
what does he do but proceed to crush a first pitch fastball over the center field fence? So
Yeah.
that's he's proven me wrong a little bit there, but I think DJ is better. Suffice it to say.
Yep.
And that's the only thing I could really think of. As far as the BR rewards, we were looking at players that are going to be 99s and are also on teams that haven't gotten a BR reward or have very few signature players. So options like the first one I thought of was Mike Trout. Now people could be upset that Mike Trout is going to be a BR reward, but that's neither here nor there. We looked at the Texas Rangers and thought maybe they might give Nolan Ryan a second SIG as an older guy with better control. I think that's doubtful, but could happen. The next two are two that I think really might be possible, and that's Jeff Bagwell and Chipper Jones.
Yep.
Now, the thing with Chipper is people are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
People are going to be really upset that Chipper Jones is not like a program reward, because I think everyone wants Chipper Jones. Now, the thing is, if he's not in this BR, it's going to be a while.
Yep.
Because Donaldson just came out.
Yep.
So, Bagwell, I don't want to say I think Bagwell's almost a lock, but I think Bagwell's pretty close to, like, he's got to be coming soon.
Yeah. I would expect a Jeff Bagwell very soon.
So, other ones we thought of were maybe like Giancarlo Stanton and Max Scherzer. Could be, some guys who are in the game but haven't had not the best of seasons. Scherzer's been a god this year, but, like, aren't, 99s, right? They won't make it onto teams, the top-tier teams.
Yep.
Other options, Mike Schmidt for the Phillies, because the Phillies only have one signature series, and I could see them being okay with not giving a Mike Schmidt to everybody.
Yep.
Ernie Banks, though we have a lot of signature series shortstops now, Ernie Banks would be a good one to have. He'd probably have the most power out of any of the signature series shortstops. Robin Yount, another shortstop, but the Brewers have only one signature series. So, and Paul Molitor you said Molitor was a BR reward, right?
He's already won, yeah.
So they might not do that, but that's another option. And then Adrian Gonzalez as the Padres' second or third signature series. Third, right behind Gwynn and Hoffman.
Yes.
No. Fourth, Benito Santiago.
Oh, yeah, he just got added.
Santiago. And then Buster Posey as a signature series catcher because McCann and Yachty are definitely not, and Russell Martin doesn't count. Like, let's be honest, Russell Martin doesn't count.
Yeah, I think just based off of what they've done, I think Posey could be the guy. Because if you look at it, not saying that these guys aren't top tier players, but I wouldn't say that any of the current BR awards, I mean, maybe outside of Felix, like, Minoso's good, but he's not, like, the greatest outfielder.
The best, yeah.
McCovey is a good first baseman. He's not the best one in the game. Young is okay, not that great. Gagne I haven't really used, but he looks pretty good.
So Eric Gagne has the best closing season ever, aside from maybe Dennis Eckersley.
Yep.
And he's, I think, the most expensive BR reward right now.
Yeah, he's sitting at like
200K.
220 maybe?
Yeah.
200. Yeah, he's the most expensive.
And that card is absolutely filthy. With
It looks really good.
97 mile an hour fastball and then 70 mile an hour curveball. That's a theme with the best pitchers. That big change.
He might be the best reliever in the game, possibly.
Yeah, I would probably put it up with him and
Kenley.
You think so? Yeah,
Possibly Billy.
Yeah.
Possibly Billy.
Kenley or Billy. They kind of did Eck dirty, unfortunately. Eck should be really
Yeah,
good.
Eck should be a 99. Yeah, Eck isn't as good as he could be. He's really good, but he could be better.
Yeah, like the signature series Eck being a 97 is kind of like, that's a shame. You know,
Yeah,
like Billy Wagner's a 99, Gagne's a 98. I can't believe Jansen's a 99. Actually, like, can we just for a second?
Yeah, it's.
If Eric Gagne's a 98, how is Jansen a 99? I don't know.
Yeah, that's very true. That's actually really true.
You know, Dennis Eckersley is a 90. Like, if Gagne again is a 98, then Eck should be a 98. You know. Bruce Sutter, no. Lee Smith actually looks like he could be really good.
Yep. Lee Smith could be really good.
The thing with
Shouldn't be too
the thing
expensive
with Bruce
either.
Sutter that he has going is the 98 homer per 9. That's
Yeah, I know some people tend to like. I know like some top tier players use Sutter, but he throws soft. You have to.
yeah. So that's the thing, but like I think the magic of this ball touched my hand. It's not going to leave the ballpark is kind of nice, for some people. So yeah, that's what we thought about the BR Signature Series players. They could literally be anyone, but those were just who we were throwing out there. Player of the month is coming soon. We've got end of July is coming right up on us. It's the 30th as we're recording this. So we've got 2 more days in July, and then we'll probably get player of the month. What? The next week in August? So not this upcoming week, but next week.
Yeah.
It's usually
it's usually a week and a half in.
Yeah, it's usually once the MLB announces it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for that, we were looking at Yuli Gurriel, if I could speak English, which I can't do sometimes. Now, neither of us particularly like Gurriel as a player, but his July has been undeniable. He has just been absolutely on fire all this month. If we look at his monthly splits for July, Yuli Gurriel is hitting .411. He is slugging .878. He is slugging .878 for the month.
Mm-hmm.
He has 12 home runs, 28 RBIs. This is fairly similar to the month that Charlie Blackmon just had. It was better than the month Josh Bell just had, and a little bit worse than Bellinger's. But he would also be the first American League Player of the Month, which is another reason why I think they will do it. I think that one's fairly set in stone. I'm not sure about you, but yeah.
Yeah, as much as I don't want it to happen, it's going to be Gurriel.
Yep. And then the next thing coming is the 6th inning program. Now, I'm not sure when and there's no real expiration date on this stuff. I don't know how long it's generally going to go. But when was this announced? A couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So we probably have, 2 more weeks left of this, and then the middle of August we'll move into the 6th inning. So 2 weeks about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this one just came out, but it's been like almost 2 weeks, just about 2 weeks maybe.
And our thoughts there is it's usually an outfield player of some kind. A outfield, like in the field. Not necessarily an outfielder, but generally there is an outfielder. A pitcher. And some wild card player. So, our thoughts being, they just released Lou Gehrig, right? So you can't have Lou Gehrig without Ted Williams.
Right.
Just can't happen. We need an outfielder because we didn't get one in this program. And if you look at the programs, we have generally gotten one of each. We got Kutch and Cal. We got Alomar and Ricky. We got Miggy and Vlad. Now, in the first inning, it was just Andrew Jones, but we got 2 pitchers. Now, 5th inning, 2 infielders and a pitcher. So we figure there'll at least be 1 outfielder, that being Ted Williams. The one position we haven't had yet is a catcher. Now, they go a couple ways with this. Joe Torre, potentially.
Yep.
Now, not sure about that one, but I thought Mike Piazza. Now, Piazza's going to be a Dodger, correct?
I would think his signature series would be a Dodger in the game. Yeah, because I think his Immortal was a Dodger last year.
Dodger. Now, if we look at it, Mike Piazza's best season was 1996 with the Dodgers, though his... that's tough. Because in 2000? Yeah, in 2000, the year the Mets made the World Series, he hit 324, had 38 home runs and 113 RBIs. Versus the year he was with the Dodgers in 96, he hit 336, 36 home runs and 105 RBIs.
I mean, the thing is for me is his best season offensively in terms of WAR. He had a 9.00 WAR, a 9 offensive WAR,
and that's
with the Dodgers in '97. That it was never with the Mets. It never got higher than a 5.6, and he was actually technically not a bad, like maybe a slightly above average defender that year too.
With the Dodgers, yeah.
He had a positive D WAR, so. It's going to be 1997 card.
1997.
It's just going to be.
His OPS plus was 185 that year. Ted Williams has to be the year he hit over 400, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they'll do Williams with just 125s across the bat. It'll be close.
I mean, it's got to be a 1941 Ted Williams, where he hit 406. Yep. He hit 406, had 37 home runs, 120 RBIs. I mean, theoretically, his best, power year was 1949. He hit 43 home runs and had 159 RBIs. But he missed out on the Triple Crown in 41. He won it in 42, and then left for the war. But crazy enough, he didn't win the MVP. Who did he lose the MVP to that year in 41?
Probably DiMaggio.
It was Joe DiMaggio, yeah. Though, Ted Williams had more WAR, 1.5 more WAR than DiMaggio did.
Back then, they didn't keep track of that
stuff.
Well,
they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't really know what that was. But I think you hit over 400, they'd look at it.
I think chances are that card will be maxed out contact and be very close to maxed out power.
Yeah.
I think if they give a player all 125s, it's going to be Ruth.
Really? You don't think it'll be Ted?
Babe Ruth. Probably. I mean, Ruth. I don't know. They did it last year.
Okay.
Um,
So
I'd have to look at the numbers, but
if we look at Lou Gehrig, right? He's got 125, 119, 112, 106. Right? Now, you'd think they have to give Williams 125, 125 for contact, right?
yeah, they have to.
So
He's going to get maxed out
the issue then
contact
would
numbers.
be his power. And this is
Um,
Lou's age 24 year.
1927.
It's 1927, and he only had 27 homers, but he had 147 RBIs. So now the power numbers might be similar, though.
Well, with the power stuff, you
It's
got to
with
look
doubles
at
and things like
just
that.
like the ISO, and yeah, it's really the ISO is the number. What year did he hit 400? It was
41, 1941.
41. Yeah, I mean, if you look at slugging, I mean, like, Gehrig slugged, because I don't see ISO numbers here, but, like, Gehrig slugged 811
That's true.
against righties that year, and they only gave him 112.
That's true. Whereas Ted Williams was 721 against righties and 622 against lefties.
That actually is shocking to me, because I think if someone that slugs over 800, it should just be 125,
Yeah.
but...
Well, does Frank Thomas have 125 power from both sides?
He has 125 versus left, and I think, like, I forget what he's got versus righties.
Okay.
I know he's maxed out on both things against lefties, but
But you'd think, basically,
he's 107 versus righty.
Ted Williams and Lou Gehrig will be very similar cards.
Very similar, yep.
They'll both be left-handed bats. Now that's the thing. They'll both be left-handed bats, so they're not exactly the Kershaw killers that Frank Thomas was. But most people have Frank Thomas anyway on their bench, so they'll just sub one in and out. And we all know.
If you can hit lefty on lefty, he'll be just as good as Frank Thomas because the stats are so jacked.
Yeah.
The only downside to Ted Williams is that his fielding, unless they make things unrealistic, his fielding is going to be like low to mid 70s at best.
Almost
all the way across the board.
Almost identical to what Lou Gehrig's are. So it's.
But Lou Gehrig is a first baseman,
right,
so
exactly,
he can get away with it.
Exactly. So it's kind of like you play in Fenway Park, or you don't use Ted Williams, or you just deal with it.
Right. You just deal with it.
Because he's not going to be the same kind of player that most people have in their outfield right now. You know, he's not going to be that Ichiro, Tony Gwynn, get to everything kind of player. Now, if you do what the Red Sox did, play in Fenway Park, put an insane fielder next to him, then it can work. You know, if you play Ted Williams in left, put Ichiro in center, and play at Fenway Park, you're in pretty good shape, especially if you got Gwynn in right, because Fenway Park is so cavernous on the right side. But that's...
Even then, you can't always guarantee you're going to be the home team, so it's, it's a give and a take with
something you'll have to live with. And the last player we thought was Tom Seaver. Now, Tom Seaver currently has an 89, right?
Yep.
Let's see if I can find... Do you know if it's for the Mets, but do you know what series it's in?
I think it's a breakout.
There it is. Yep, breakout 1969, Tom Seaver. So, Tom Seaver back in MLB 16 was easily my favorite pitcher. Up on this channel somewhere, I have a 25... Either have a 25 strikeout game or a perfect game through 7 that the guy quit on.
I think you have both.
Yeah, but I use this card religiously. And based on how they made that Tom Seaver card, it will be rivaling Kershaw, my guess.
Yep.
Because if you look at his pitch mix, he's got 4-seam slider, sinker, 12-6 changeup. And I'm looking at Kershaw from the other side right now. Like, this 89 is probably pretty good right now as is.
Yep.
Now the question is, what year will it be? Because 69 was the year he won 25 games. Could be 1973.
Okay.
He won the Cy Young, had 251 strikeouts, led the league, had a 3.92 strikeout per walk, led the league. His ERA plus was 175, so his best year by ERA plus is actually 1971.
Okay.
So it could be 71, because 71 is also his career high in K per 9, and his career high for strikeouts. His ERA that year in 1971 was it's gonna be 1971. He had a 1.76 ERA that year.
Okay.
I think the only difference is his record. Yeah, he lost 10 games, but as we know, the Mets and good pitchers, they don't tend to win a lot of games.
Yep.
Looking at you, Jacob deGrom.
I think that his best year was 1971.
Yeah. So it'll be in 1971. Now the question is, how are they gonna? So if we look at other knockout pitchers, right, that have signature series, we've got Gibson. Now Bob Gibson's card that year for Bob Gibson was absolutely stupid.
Yep.
The question, though, then remains, he had a 1.12 ERA that year.
Yep. It's one of the best pitching years ever.
He had less strikeouts. His ERA plus was higher. He had less K per 9. So, do we give Tom Seaver 125 K per 9?
So what did you say it was?
So Tom Seaver had 289 strikeouts that year.
He had a 9.1 strikeout per 9 in 71. That was his highest of his career. And you said
Bob Gibson.
And we're looking at Bob Gibson had
7.9.
7.9. So I would give. You'd pretty much have to. I would give Tom Seaver a 125.
So because Bob Feller has 124, right?
I looked at his once, and they're not that high.
And this is...
Look at Bob Feller's...
Age 27, so this is 1946. And he had an 8.4.
Yep.
So Tom Seaver has to have 125. Now the question is...
8 for 9, he has to.
The question is, what do they do with his control? Now that was also his best year as far as strikeouts per walk at 4.74, which is very similar to what Gibson's was. I think Gibson's was a little bit higher, but not much. Gibson's was...
Gibson's walk per 9 is a 1.8. Seaver's was a 1.9.
Right, but I was looking at strikeouts per walk. So, 1.8 was 1.9, whereas you look at Gibson's walks per 9 is an 80. So we're thinking around the same there.
Put him at an 80, yeah.
His hits per 9 was 6.6, which isn't great. Gibson's is 5.8.
Gibson's was a 5.8.
So 90s, low 90s.
It's Tom Seaver though. I guess so. I guess you could give. I would give him a 95.
Yeah, 95. Homer per 9 was 0.6 versus Gibson's 0.3. So it might not be 96, but you're looking 90, maybe 89.
Yep.
Yep. And then his velocity and break are going to be, almost the same, 97, 98, and then 99. His control will be about similar. I think it's going to be pretty close to Bob Gibson.
Yeah, it'll be a similar card. Stamina, Gibson's got...
Gibson, how many innings did he pitch that year?
68, Gibson pitched 304.2.
And Tom Seaver in 71 pitched 286. So a little less, maybe give him 111. Though it looks like all these
I would give him
pitchers like
they all do.
Well, so
I would give Tom Seaver like 122 or something like that.
Feller has 123, Blyleven has 121. It's only looked like the modern pitchers that stay that low. Like Greinke has 108, Baumgartner has 113.
Well, even like Verlander, 114 on Verlander. Like Blyleven has 121. It'll be like 123.
Yeah. Like CC has 112.
Yep.
Morris has 120. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good card. I think it really will be.
Yeah. Long story short, Seaver should be very similar to Gibson.
Yeah.
To what Gibson's card is. I don't know. He'll have a fastball, upper 90s fastball. He'll have an amazing slider.
And then
he'll have a curveball.
Yeah. Well, so if they go by the pitch mix he had, right? If you look at the pitch mix that they gave him for 1969,
this other one?
He has a four-seam, a slider, a sinker, a 12-6, and a changeup. I mean...
Yeah, so he's almost like a Bob Gibson, honestly.
Yeah,
almost the same thing.
The only pitch he's missing from being, like, God-tier level pitch mix is maybe a cutter, but like even then the cutter,
I wouldn't.
If you leave it over the plate, it's not good, but it can really saw some people off.
Yeah, cutters you have to know how to pitch to use them in this game, because if you leave them over the plate, they go 500 feet.
Yeah,
but
he just doesn't.
He's got pretty much.
Yeah, he doesn't have a great pitch against lefties. I mean, the sinker is what you'll use, but.
Yep.
He's a very north-south pitcher.
Yeah, he's pretty much your but that's like your standard pitch mix.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much as good as it gets in this game.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost identical to what Verlander has.
It is identical to what Gibson has, minus the fact that Gibson's curve is a regular curve and his is a 12-6.
Which might actually make
12-6 usually are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the 12-6 are generally better. They're more sought after, but he's going to be very close to Bob Gibson.
Yeah. All right. Well, that goes through our sixth inning predictions. We were actually pretty close last time for the fifth inning. Or not for the fifth inning, for the fourth inning. Fourth inning, we were talking about it, and if we go back on what day was it? I'm actually going to pull up the date because I have it. If we look at it, the date that we put down for the fifth inning program was exactly 1 month ago today, or it might be a little bit before that. Reddit kind of rounds. No, it was June 12th. So on June 12th, we had decided that the bosses for the fourth inning program were going to be Cal Ripken Jr., Billy Wagner, and then instead of Andrew McCutchen, we had Stan Musial, because we know how much they have a hard-on for the Cardinals. So we got pretty close in the fourth inning. We didn't guess really for the fifth inning. It just kind of happened. I was in Texas when it happened, and we were excited with the results. But the last thing I wanted to talk about today, and is something that we are going to kind of do a little bit of as we go through, is legends who aren't in the game that should be. Now, I did back in 2016 a few videos of legends who aren't in the game that should be. And I only got a couple of them done, but the four legends that I had mentioned were Ricky Henderson, Vlad Guerrero,
Yep.
Ken Griffey Jr., and Pudge Rodriguez. Now, funnily enough, do you want to know who's in this game this year?
All those guys.
Ricky Henderson, Vlad Guerrero, Ken Griffey Jr., and Pudge Rodriguez.
Right.
So, this is also brought on by the fact that we were talking to each other, 3 days ago, about how none of the big three from the Braves were in the game. And the top post on the Reddit MLB The Show today was, let's get these three in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I ain't saying, I'm just saying. If anyone wants to check, you can go back and check my YouTube channel. That's all there. I'm not making that up. So we're just going to do the AL East and the NL East today. And we're going to buzz through them. Our idea is we'll pick one. We'll go for the one most sought-after one. Now, being Yankees fans, we'll start with the Yankees first. We had narrowed it down to basically DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle.
Yep.
Now, you said Mantle would probably be the better one to have.
Yeah, because he pretty much would be
Willie Mays.
a switch-hitting Willie Mays. He'd be a switch Willie Mays. DiMaggio would be Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Basically the same card, I would think. I'd have to look at the exact numbers, but I would probably want Mantle just because of the switch hitting.
Yeah. Now, was it always thought that Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays were about the same player, or?
Yeah, if you actually look at it, from the stuff that I've done, just looking at their stats, at their absolute peak of their powers, Mantle was slightly better, at least in terms of like wins above replacement.
Yeah, that 1956 Willie Mays would be another level of. Or not Mickey Mantle, not Willie Mays.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're right there, but Mickey Mantle would be. I don't know about Mickey Mantle's fielding. I know it probably wouldn't be as good as Mays's.
I'd be 80s, right? Probably.
Yeah, but the switch hitting would be outrageous with his hitting stats.
And if you couldn't, if his fielding for whatever reason was pretty dumpy, you could play him at first base. Like he did play first base.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle is what we're thinking there for the Yankees. DiMaggio would be cool. But again, like the thing with DiMaggio is he's a center fielder, but he probably wouldn't be that. He'd probably be pretty close to Duke Snyder, no?
No, I think the thing with DiMaggio is he was a great fielder. I think he would be more of like Willie Mays type fielding.
But less.
He probably wouldn't have. Yeah.
Less hitting.
Maybe a little bit less power. Not even less hitting wise. His contact would probably be through the roof. Maybe a little bit less power. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't think he hit for as much power as like Mantle.
But I mean, so Duke Snyder, right? If you look at this card, he still has. I mean, his fielding could be pretty high, but like his speed is 74. So it's not like it's low. It's just,
Yeah. No offense to Duke Snyder, but I mean DiMaggio is just going to be better.
He'll be better.
Him.
But I figured that's the kind of card we're looking at, not necessarily the maxed across the board kind of deal. Because like Duke Snyder's against righties is 115, 110, so that would be DiMaggio against lefties. His contact.
But I mean, we're talking about the guy who had a 56 game hit streak. Like I feel like they would just max out DiMaggio's contact, give him like 80s in terms of power, maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. 125 vision, probably.
Yeah, almost like a better Ty Cobb, because he wouldn't have a noodle arm.
That's true. I'm thinking they might make him slower, not 99 speed, but.
Yeah. No, they're not going to give him 99 speed, but I feel like he'd be almost like a Ty Cobb with an arm, would be DiMaggio.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so basically the Yankees are going to get a center fielder. Who it is, we don't know, between Mantle and DiMaggio.
Yep.
Now the Red Sox, I'm pretty adamant it should be Pedro.
Should be, yeah.
Pedro Martinez would be the guy, because if you look at what the Red Sox have, for legends right now. They've got Wade Boggs, Cy Young, Ted Williams, Dennis Eckersley. That's okay. You know, Boggs, Young, Williams, great. But Pedro is, to most Red Sox fans now, like, he's the guy for the Red Sox, at least when we were growing up. You know, then it was David Ortiz, who's another guy that we thought about. Ortiz would be good. Ortiz would be a lot like frickin' Edgar Martinez. It would be very similar, but Ortiz would be left-handed. The one, like, not out of nowhere, because he's not out of nowhere, but Carl Yastrzemski is the other guy. The thing with Yaz is you would not really be able to have Yaz and Ted Williams in the same team. They both played left field. So that's it. I think Pedro's the way to go. He would be absolutely dirty in the show too. Like, it just wouldn't be fair. Imagine having to face Pedro's changeup.
Yeah, no, he would be. It'd be like Saberhagen on like all kinds of steroids.
Did you hear what
that changeup would be dirty?
Did you hear what A-Rod said Sunday night during the game about Pedro?
No.
So he was talking about how Domingo Germán would show every single player his entire pitch repertoire each time he faced him. That's why he wasn't as good the third time through. What he said about Pedro was, the first time you walked up to face Pedro, he'd strike you out on 3 fastballs. The second time you walked up to face Pedro, he'd strike you out on 2 fastballs and a changeup. Then the third time you walked up to face Pedro, you had no idea what he was going to do because he still had 2 other pitches. So
yeah, no, he was
That was that's what he said about Pedro, and that's coming from Alex Rodriguez, who's arguably one of the best hitters of all time. So, moving on to the Orioles, what do you think? Mike Mussina?
Mike Mussina or Frank Robinson.
Now,
if Frank Robinson possibly would be a Red, probably would be a Red.
Yeah. Now, the thoughts there is that they have 3 of their top WAR players ever already in the game, with Cal, Jim Palmer, and Eddie Murray. Mussina is actually 5th on that list. Now, as Yankee fans, we'd like to see Mussina in the game, even though he'd probably have an Orioles hat on. I mean, the knuckle curve is kind of fun. Who doesn't like a good knuckle curve? He'd be a great fielding pitcher, if that means anything to anyone. It doesn't really matter, but, like, he was a Gold Glover for many years. So that would be nice. The Orioles just don't have a lot of options left, honestly.
A lot of them in the game.
Jim Palmer was my thought back in the day, because I had a full roster on MLB 16 of 1 player for each team, and Jim Palmer was my pick for the Orioles. But that's that. Next is Tampa Bay, which it really is. There's really only one option. I mean, their current legend is Aubrey Huff, which is just kind of disappointing. Especially because they're going to get a signature series Longoria. I mean, Huff can play first base, so you'll be able to use them both if you want. But their legend's going to be Carl Crawford. It's got to be. Right? If you're going to add anyone from Tampa's history into the game that isn't already there, I mean, does Fred McGriff have one for Tampa?
He's already in the game.
I'm curious as to why he's not showing up, though.
He doesn't have a SIG series, but he has a few different cards in the game.
Fred McGriff's not on the market, is it? For Tampa.
No, he's like affinity stuff.
That's why he's not showing up.
He's got and he also has a Braves one.
Yeah. So
just isn't the goal. His diamond.
Yeah. So Fred McGriff is the other one that would be there, but Carl Crawford's the guy. I think. I mean, if you guys have any other suggestions, please let us know because I can't think of any. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays. I think it has to be Roger Clemens. But the odds that Clemens gets put into the game are slim, I think. But if you look at Rogers' best years, they were 100% with the Blue Jays.
Toronto.
Um, which one of those years was it? It's 97 and 98 are the two, like, tip-top years. Which is crazy because he was 34 and 35. I mean, people could say that 1986, quote unquote, was his best year because he won the MVP too. But if you look at his just his ERA, he had a 2.05 ERA in 1997 and a 2.65 in 98. So it would probably be 97. He had more strikeouts in 97. His FIP was lower. His ERA plus was the highest it was ever. So, as much as Red Sox fans, I mean, I don't know. Do Red Sox fans even like Roger Clemens?
Probably not.
I mean, do we as Yankee fans even like Roger Clemens?
Debatable.
I like 2001. He won 20 games for us in 2001, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. Roger Clemens he won this. I can't even believe he won a Cy Young at age 38, and then again at age 41.
He was on steroids.
Yeah, well, he was on a lot of steroids. But that's okay. Roger Clemens is one. Other options: Carlos Delgado, and then Tony Fernandez was the shortstop, right? Who neither of us had really ever not like I'd heard his name, but not thought he was that good.
Yep.
But that's the Blue Jays. Now, the Mets. This is the NL East because we're AL East and NL East. The Mets have a bunch of good options. Chief among them for us is David Wright, because I mean that man just kind of deserves. Is he in the game this year? He retired, right?
He's not. He's not in the game now.
So that would be, I think, the Mets to get David Wright. I think that would make every single Mets fan happy.
Yep.
Because currently their only two legends are Keith Hernandez and Tom Seaver that are on the market. They might have other affinity stuff that I can't see. But a signature series 99 overall David Wright would be kind of crazy. Carlos Beltran would be really good for the game, because I mean, debatably really good for the game. He'd be a really powerful card. His best year for the Mets was 06. He was really, really good for the Mets that year. Darryl Strawberry was another one we thought of.
Doc Gooden.
And then Doc Gooden was the last one. I think Doc Gooden would be really cool.
It'd be really fun.
He would be... I mean, he'd probably be pretty similar to Bob Gibson, no? As a pitcher?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I say this not because they're both black, but they were actually very similar pitchers. Doc Gooden's 1985 season, 153 ERA, 268 strikeouts. He did it mainly with a lightning quick fastball. Like, I'm not just making it up. They are actually both featured in that movie Fastball.
Yep.
If you've never seen that movie, by the way, definitely check it out. It's really, really good. They come to the conclusion that I guess that Nolan Ryan might have actually thrown like 106 because of how fastballs like speed were measured, like the distances. But yeah, so that's pretty cool for the Mets to get maybe one of those guys. The Phillies, there are three big Phillies. There's Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Ryan Howard. The fact that none of those guys are in the game is almost kind of absurd. They have currently Richie Ashburn and Mike Schmidt, but and Cliff Lee, I guess, right? Yep. Also, okay, we're an idiot. We forgot someone on the Blue Jays. We forgot Roy Halladay.
Oh, jeez.
Now I think
we completely forgot that one.
I'm thinking about it because we're staring at Phillies uniforms, and he was also on the Phillies. Um, Roy Halladay needs to be in the show somewhere. He just needs to.
Yep.
He was too good for too long.
Yep.
But the Phillies, to not have any of the three mainstay guys from their big run in the early 2000s is kind of upsetting. Because, like, when I think of the Phillies, I think of Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard. I mean, Chase Utley, you would, you know, but Utley stuck around a little bit longer than Rollins and Howard did.
Yep.
The Braves, I mean, the aforementioned big three of Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox. Now, the question is whether Maddox would be a Brave or a Cub.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a Cub.
Yeah.
Maybe. His best year by ERA plus was, if it will sort, maybe, it might not. His best year based off ERA plus was with Atlanta in 1994. So,
Okay.
he'll probably, actually his best 2 years were with Atlanta in 94 and 95. So yeah, it'll probably be, you know, he'll be a Brave if he ever gets in. And he did win 3 straight Cy Youngs with the Braves, and then one before that with the Cubs. But the question is, do you think Greg Maddux would be good?
It would be very difficult. He would obviously, they'd alleviate some of it because they would give him, you know, 125 walk per 9, 125 control, at least on like a couple of his pitches. He'd probably have 125 home run per 9, but
can homer per 9 even go to 125?
Actually no, it'd be 99. It'd be 99. But they would max out. Basically, his walks and his home runs would be maxed
And
out,
hits, probably,
and his other stuff would be
yeah.
great. His stuff would be great, but I don't think. I mean, I don't know of any like cards. At least if we're talking about guys that are upper tier, guys that throw soft, that are
Now,
top tier. I mean, Bumgarner's the closest.
have
His fastball hits 95.
one thought, in that he might just be a juiced Adam Wainwright.
Yeah.
Because Wainwright tops out at 93. He's got...
Yeah, it depends. Well, because what pitches did... I mean, obviously, Maddox threw a four-seam
Actually,
and a
I'm
changeup.
curious if I can find Maddox pitch effects. I don't know if pitch effects was a thing. Back in the day. Greg Maddux. Okay, so it was. In 2008, which is the year they had the most data on him at least, he threw... Oh, okay, so never mind. We have to throw that one out. So over the career, they have 2 years of data on Greg Maddux. He threw a sinker, a changeup, a cutter, and a curveball.
I mean, if he's throwing those pitches, then plus probably a four-seam they'd probably
give him
throw
a
in.
four-seam, so it would be almost exactly the same as Wainwright.
Yeah, I mean, if they do that, then I just like what. So you said, because I mean, if you look at the player, usually they can hit some. It says Wainwright's four seams coming at 93,
Right.
which means in game you can hit 94, 95 occasionally.
Yeah, so Maddox top velocity in 2007. Now this is 2007, granted, where he's 41 years old. Was 90.
Okay.
So I don't know what he ever topped out at.
So if he's throwing, like, basically, if they gave him the same type of fastball, let's say they put it at 93, he'd be usable.
So
because his per nines would be so good.
yeah, his fastball touched 93 in his early years.
Yeah, so it's basically, if he's got a good pitch mix, he's basically a juiced up Adam Wainwright. He's exactly right. He's exactly what you said.
Okay. And then Smoltz and Glavine would be good.
Yeah.
Because Glavine threw about 95, if I remember properly. Had a good curveball, had a good slider, was a lefty. John Smoltz would be absurd.
Yeah, I would honestly think Glavine might be the worst of them because Smoltz would be really, really good.
John Smoltz would just be beyond. Now the question is, and Smoltz would be good to get in the game because he'd also have a reliever that would be very good.
Yeah, it's true.
Because John Smoltz, if I look at his data, if I can find it, Smoltz threw, because in 2007, John Smoltz threw a four-seam, slider, splitter, sinker, curveball. That's good. All of those pitches were above 90 miles an hour except for the curveball, which came in at 83. The four-seam in 07 touched 97. And that was when he was 40 years old.
Okay.
So if they give him a card when he's 29, that fastball is 98, 99, right? It's got to be.
Yeah. It's true.
And then you mix in the fact that he has a split finger, a sinker, a slider, and a curveball.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
He'd be dominant. Just straight up dominant. Yep. Now I'm a little upset that we don't have him in the game. Because that would be so much fun. Second to last on the list is the Nationals, or the Expos. Tim Raines was the only one I could think of. I don't really have...
Yeah, they're pretty...
Like, if we go look at the Nationals legends, they've got Gary Carter. And that's it. I mean, if you look at even just their flashbacks, you've got Ryan Zimmerman, Gio Gonzalez, and Michael Taylor. So, like, even from the Nationals era, Zimmerman's the only one I would think of. And then, okay, they do have Vlad Guerrero. And Vlad's best year ever
already in the game
was as a Expo, right? And well, what year was it? 99, 2000? So it's possible that they get Tim Raines. Tim Raines is the only one we could really think of. And the last one, they have a bunch of options for this, and that's the Marlins. The Marlins could get freaking 10 or 11 people at this point. So they already have a Signature Series Hanley Ramirez, who is their leader in WAR for batters, which is hysterical because he wasn't there for very long. They have Cliff Floyd. They have AJ Burnett. So options that we looked at were Dan Uggla. I think of the Marlins when I think of Dan Uggla. Josh Beckett, be very good. Be a very good Josh Beckett card from 2003. Would it be 03 or would it be?
Yeah, around there.
Was that
02 maybe?
Was that what was the year they beat the Yankees? Was it 03, right?
Yeah.
So that would be Josh Beckett's 03 card. This is a little understated one that probably people wouldn't like as much, but Juan Pierre would basically be Jose Reyes, that 89 Jose Reyes. Juan Pierre for the Marlins in 2004 hit 326, stole 45 bases, led the league in triples. Yeah, he would basically be, I mean, his better year, he stole 65 bases in 03. Juan Pierre would be a cool card to have. basically be juiced up.
He would be. Yeah, he'd be really, really good. I'm trying to think of a card. I feel like there's already. He'd almost be like a Kenny Lofton type.
Yep.
Be in that the same exact
Actually,
vein.
almost exactly like Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
And he was a left-handed hitter too. Yeah, he would be Kenny Lofton. Yeah. And that would Juan Pierre would be fun. He'd be good. He'd be really good.
Yep.
One who's always thrown around is Dontrell Willis. If only just to see that crazy windup, because that was awesome. We were both. How old were we? Because we were in.
Back when he was doing his thing, we were like fifth graders,
We
sixth
were
graders,
in 5th grade.
4th grade.
And I remember that year where he was just beyond nuts. Every time someone went to play either wiffle ball or was actually pitching in baseball during warm-ups, everyone, literally everyone, tried to do that leg kick. And it was the most freaking hysterical thing. And he'd probably be a lot like Rick Ankiel, like with his card.
Yep.
You know, it would be an 89 or a 90. He only ever had one really good year, and that was in 05.
Yep. He would be good though, because that windup would be hard to
pick up.
Pick up on.
And he's a lefty.
Yeah.
You know, we have, maybe I can get some data on Dontrell, what his pitch mix would have been. So if I go to splits, pitching, so I have to find this. Dontrell Willis pitch effects. You know how cool it is that this is actually a thing? That pitch effects exist.
The stats. Oh.
It makes everything so easy. I don't want 2011. I want literally any season. Ay, ay. Fangraphs is making this tough on me. Let's see. There you go. Nope. Alright, well. Apparently, he had a four-seam that had. Oh, this is 2011. So this is like when he wasn't very good. But he threw a four-seam, a sinker, a curveball, and a changeup. A four-seam, sinker, slider, curveball, changeup. So, it'd be pretty cool, actually. And apparently his changeup was a cutting action versus a fading action, so it had glove side run. Be interesting if they could make that a thing, a changeup that moves into a lefty.
Yep.
Then Gary Sheffield would be, big time Gary Sheffield, right? Big power hitting right fielder. He wouldn't field all that well, I can't imagine. But he would have, 100 plus power, both sides. Probably.
Okay.
In 1996. And then we got Jeff Conine, who is known as like Mr. Marlin. Like he was the face of that team for a very long time. Because he along with Sheffield were on the team in '97 when they won their first World Series. Which, by the way, if anyone's interested, there is a collapse video on that. It's really cool to watch what happened to the Marlins. And then the last one, I mean, what do you think the odds are that Fernandez gets put in this game ever?
I think it could happen. I don't see why it couldn't, but we'll have to see. There's no precedent for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there really isn't, honestly, at all.
Yeah.
But that is that's about all we wrote. We got through everything we wanted to. Next time we do this, we'll probably go through the central divisions of both teams or of both leagues, and go over there. We'll probably we'll give this a few days to breathe, maybe a week or two, then get back in it. Hopefully I'll be World Series around by then. Our teams will have changed a little bit, but that's good. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye, guys.